Do you have experience with a covert narcissist? Advice. D-Day was almost a year ago, and I gave up on reconciliation at the end of June. I am slowly thinking less and less about my STBXW, but I am still lost as to why my wife did what she did. I know I will never get an answer to my question. After all, we have 3 children from 14 to 20. This woman will never fully be out of my life. I still have to co-parent with her for a few years, and I need to know if I need to protect my children from her in some capacity. By that, I mean emotional abuse, mainly gaslighting. I recently read up on covert narcissism, and I was shocked that she checks in all the boxes. In this article, for example, she does all of these things. On other lists, I found she checked 9 out of 10 or 7 out of 8, so this sounds like my STBXW. I just wanted to ask if some of you have been in a relationship with a covert narcissist and can share your experiences. I also wanted to bring attention to it since I always thought all narcissists behave like overt narcissists, and she is not one of those. Earlier this year, I dismissed the possibility she was narcissistic. I had no idea what a covert narcissist was or what their behavioral traits and thought patterns were until recently. Redditor's comments. Update after. Redditor 1. This is my ex-wife. My late 30s and still acting like a teenager with all the lies and shit. Some lies were so egregious that I am leery of telling people since it's hard to believe. I used to question whether she knew what she was doing. Last year one of the exes/affair partners contacted me and sent me years of stuff, which included her Reddit. She was fully aware of what she did, and I even found her posting on sociopath and narc subs admitting she was one. When I confronted her with all of this, she blocked me and resorted to the same tactics, but this time I was aware of the person she was. OP follow-up. Thanks, you sum her up pretty well. I'd give her the emotional maturity of a late teen. Maybe so I feel less gross about it. Redditor 2. My ex was a narcissist, but whether he was covert, overt, or malignant, I haven't bothered to look too far into it. The guy gaslit me and lied at every point when he started showing his true colors immediately after we moved in. Still, before that, in the love bombing stage, he would make himself out to be the victim of society. He was so convincing, I let so much of his horrible behavior go. He mirrored much of my ideals and acted like his mom was a saint while treating her like literal garbage. We were the perfect couple until I moved in, and his self-destructive tendencies got him evicted from his landlady's apartment. He resorted to many daily name-calling, fat-shaming, gaslighting, and mental abuse. He'd apologize and say he'd never do it again, to go straight back to calling me useless less than 5 minutes later. He'd say how I needed to lose weight while he was drinking a 6-pack of beer and 2 boxes of wine every night, eating 4 servings of food that were supposed to last 2 to 3 days. It didn't matter. Even if I tried to limit his and my intake, I'd be hit with a, "You don't love me if you let me eat alone" BS. I bought an elliptical and indoor bike because he would go on for hours about how we need to work out more and how he needs me to motivate him to work out by working out, but he would never use it, and he wouldn't do anything. His excuse is, "I work a physical labor job, I don't need to work out." Eventually, I got depressed. I wouldn't cook, I wouldn't clean, sleep in a nasty mattress he refused to help me upkeep. I had been reduced to a maid, only there to feed him, clean up after him, take care of his dog, and be there when he wanted to screw, regardless of whether I wanted to or not. There was one time I left for a weekend to get a break. He insisted I was cheating on him while I was at my sister's. I told him it was because of his drinking, and he said he would do better. The moment I crossed the threshold, he's shit-faced and holding a taser, I'm terrified and on the floor unarmed, crying, saying how scared I was, and he's telling me that I'm acting crazy and he's afraid of me. We had a roommate, and eventually, seeing that became too much for her, she relapsed. The blame game was on. I was now faced with being incompetent, fat, ugly, and now I'm being told I killed the friend I'd share secret plots to escape with. We were planning on moving out together because of him. Things got worse when he started openly cheating. It was because I didn't dye my hair or get a tan, and the other woman was his soulmate because she was so much better at sex than I was. So much more beautiful and fit. He didn't even care that I hurt myself and almost tried to end it all. He broke me. It didn't take long for her to cut him off. After that, it was back to the love bombing, but it was hard to get back into it when he was on the prowl at clubs every night, looking for young girls to sucker. I'm glad I moved out, TLDR, I was a virgin, and my narcissist gave me a lifelong STD, abused me, cheated on me, and still thinks he was in the right even though he's got no one in his corner, not even his mother. OP follow-up. He sounds like an overt narcissist, to my limited knowledge. What he did is horrible, you did nothing to deserve it, and I am glad you were able to move out. Take care of yourself, you deserve to be treated well. Redditor 2 follow-up. Someone said the difference between overt and covert was if they were an introvert/extrovert. If that's the case, he might have been covert because he didn't socialize with anyone, was terrible at making new friends, and spent most of his time at home. OP follow-up. Makes sense. But like you said in your first sentence, you made a good point that it doesn't matter what kind. I just wanted to bring attention to the difference in behavior, as I didn't know what a covert narcissist was, and my STBXW did not check the standard boxes for narcissism. Update. STBXW is trying to get me arrested for domestic abuse. Need support. Friday, 10 days ago, I and my STBXW got into an argument. She moved out to her mom's place at the end of June, but we own our house together. She, of course, still has her keys, and she comes around every once in a while to see the kids, get some of her stuff, and so on. When I went on a trip, she stayed here, and I also stayed with friends for a couple of weekends so she could stay home with the kids. That Friday, she came over, and we argued. It got heated, and I asked her to leave multiple times. She refused to leave and wanted to talk. So I went to my home office and was going to lock the door, but she stood in the doorway. I am big and tall, 6 foot 2 inches and around 200 pounds, my wife is about 5 feet 7 inches and 153 pounds. I have PTSD from my wife's cheating, and I felt cornered. She refused to leave when I verbally asked her to, probably about 15 times. I wanted her gone, so I pushed her. I don't want to make excuses for myself, but I think it is a fight-or-flight response to PTSD. I am not afraid of this woman in a logical sense, but I felt cornered. I pushed her hard, but not nearly as hard as I could. The force should have pushed her back one step and made her put one foot back to catch her balance. But instead, she crumpled like a sack of potatoes and fell with her lower back on the doorknob. It is a fancy handle with a pointy end, so it hurt. I have caught it on my elbow a few times. She laid there screaming in pain in a wildly exaggerated manner, and it made me want her out of the house. Even more, I grabbed her wrists and started pulling her towards the front door. I know this is not normal, but I am not thinking logically here. I felt like my fight-or-flight response was in charge. She screamed and tried to make herself as heavy as she could and finally said she will go. Let go of me. My wife stood up and did not move, so I still pushed her gently towards the door. When I say gently, I mean the same way you go through a crowd at a concert. I thought that was the end of it. But no, my wife called a women's shelter, claiming I hit her, kicked her, pulled her hair, and threw her out of the house, giving no backstory whatsoever. Of course, the women's shelter directs her to the hospital, where she gets checked out and talks to a social worker and a police officer. That police officer called me this morning to get my side of the story. You can imagine how panicked I felt. I am writing this 2 hours later and still shaking. I told him what happened, we talked for a while, and I hoped that was the end. The only mark they could find on her was on her lower back from the doorknob. According to him, she did not get an injury report done, and it was her word against mine. I got the feeling this was the end of the case. I don't know how professional it was of him, but once I told him she cheated on me on and off for 13 years, he got a lot more empathetic towards me and assured me if I was telling the truth, there was nothing to worry about. I know exactly how this sounds. I bet most of you assume I am leaving out details, and I did hit her. I know I would think that if I read this. I am a man and a big, athletic, bearded tattooed guy, and she is a beautiful blonde, blue-eyed woman. So, of course, people believe her over me. I have always believed in women in rape cases, domestic abuse, and so on. I still do, but I never thought my STBXW would lie to the police about something like this. I don't get how someone could be so evil. I am still shaking and sick. I puked my breakfast after the phone call. I am a professor, and if I get criminal charges against me, my career is over, and my STBXW knows this. I will never get another teaching job. I know what I did was wrong, and I do not condone violence. I have never been a fighter and have not gotten into a fight since I was 8. Redditor's comments. Redditor 1. It would help if you got legal advice ASAP to see the best way to deal with your STBXW. It's essential in the future to never be alone with her or always record. Another option is to put cameras in your house to have evidence. She will try to trap you. I'm sorry, man. OP follow-up. Thanks, waiting for a callback from my lawyer right now. Redditor 2. You all being in the same house together will never work again. You need to end this arrangement more quickly and start using a co-parenting app to communicate for a paper trail. No more of her coming into the house. If you insist on that arrangement, never enter the house while she's still in it. Immediately leave if she joins. It's on you to protect yourself from now on. OP follow-up. No, I see that now. I had no idea she reported the incident to the police, and I think she is trying to have something on me since I have a ton of evidence of her cheating and could ruin her reputation. Well, she did that herself, by revealing what she has been doing behind my back. Redditor 3. Could you make sure every interaction with her is recorded? You don't need to let her know because it's in your home. I would get a couple of spy cams and keep them in the main areas you converse in so that you have clear evidence if she tries something similar again. Do not, I repeat, do not lay your hands on her again. Suppose she refuses to leave or starts making you uncomfortable, call the police. Please explain your STBX has tried to file a false charge on you before and now you are asking for their help as suggested. Don't give her any excuse to put you in such a vulnerable position again now that you know what she is capable of. Good luck, buddy. OP follow-up. You are right, I will never touch her again and call the police if she comes around again and refuses to leave. Redditor 4. Sir, may I ask, do you still want to reconcile with her? I'm asking cause you were/are a reconciling BS? OP follow-up. No. It's all in my post history. Redditor 5. I am a professor, and if I get criminal charges against me, my career is over, and my STBXW knows this. I will never get a teaching job again. You can kindly remind her that any divorce settlement with you being an out-of-work professor earning nothing means that she will be liable to pay you alimony and child support for quite a long time. Speak to your lawyer, file against her for harassment, and see if you can get a RO against her. OP follow-up. I don't think she thinks rationally enough for that to sink in, but I will call my divorce lawyer and see what he suggests. Redditor 6. Do not ever be alone with her under any circumstance ever again. No matter what. Depending on your vehicle and home situation equals cameras. And I wouldn't advertise you are recording things either, depending on the laws of your area and what your lawyer says. Any future interaction must be limited to text messages, about children if you have them, finances if applicable, or anything hinging on separation/divorce. You will learn to pare down your answers to facts, yes, no, and no explanations in one sentence. This limits any ammunition to her. You will also learn to take time to reply. Although now you are emotional and spinning, this will be a long game. You will copy/paste all communication via your lawyer. You can set up a direct email address that will only deal with her correspondence once you serve her and get communication advice from your lawyer, because that's the direction you are going. For any text messages, copy/paste and reply via email. Could you set her contact name as her phone number, so it is clear it is you replying to her number? The next part is an important step: get drug tested. Could you speak with your legal person and discuss options about doing this twice in a short period and doing so at 2 different labs? If she gets cute about how you're always drunk and high in the divorce, your legal people can crush that instantly. If you are a social drinker or drug user, or would have hard thinking about your behaviors going forward, could you talk to your legal person about a strategy of getting a doctor's checkup immediately? This is to show you are healthy/sound mind/ and taking care of yourself. OP follow-up. Thanks for the advice. I have never done drugs, and I get drunk maybe once every 2 years. I consider myself an athlete and live accordingly. I am in my mid-40s and can deadlift 400 pounds and run a marathon in under 4 hours, just saying that so you know what my lifestyle is like. OP crossed a line he should never cross when he tried to forcibly remove his STBXW from the house she has a legal right to be in. What would you have done if put in OP's position? Please comment below, and I will see you in the following story. If you want to like and subscribe.